or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on social media, including the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, as well as several others now, really. We got it on YouTube, the Talk El Paso page, Twitter, @Talk El Paso, and Twitch, which is Andrew J. Polk. But there's a lot of ways in between there, as we have Calvin Williams tuning in with us already over on the Facebook page as well, even if it seems like maybe we talked too much guff about the digital overlords there yesterday. There we go. Now it seems to be working there. Tuning in and giving us that digital wave as well. So thank you for doing so. Also, John Hurt's already chiming in with a long bit of something there that I'll have to read here in a minute about unhappy with illegal immigration and the settlements that have been discussed there. That has been a difficult one to track down, to be perfectly honest, because that's a weird subject. But point is that all today we are going to be taking those comments and calls on the line because it's Friday, another busy week in the books. Absolutely. Again, I feel like I am maybe not using that phrase appropriately because there is definitely been a lot of stuff going on, and the whole idea of it going faster and faster makes me think that maybe we need perhaps a different phrase for us, because busy almost feels like, okay, if last year was busy and this year is still busy, is this just what normal is, or is there a better signifier for that? So that's a question, maybe a little bit too philosophical for a Friday, but we'll take on those subjects and any real ones, particularly if you're calling in. We do still have standards, those FCC ones, most accurately. So also have Leroy Chuck joining in with us over on the Facebook page, along with more Calvin Williams, and then talking about those proposed settlements. If you cross the border, do you get paid also? I don't think it's a rote kind of you cross, you get a check. I think it goes to specific things that have happened to you, but it's still the face value of it is a little bit eyebrow raising, to say the least, is what the diplomatic, maybe untoo diplomatic way to put it for the moment here. But again, comments and calls throughout the hour. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We got a lot of issues, a lot of things to discuss here. I wanted to just mention briefly the incident that caused my phone to blow up about emergency alerts going on over at UTEP overnight. We'll have some more about it in the news update coming a little bit later, but some additional reporting going on to that, maybe about what happened there, with some authorities saying that it was maybe a drug deal gone wrong that then ended up people fleeing onto the UTEP campus. Just, real messed up situation there. Hope everyone else around that area stays safe. One of the good times, I guess, that UTEP's primarily a commuter school, but definitely a scary situation for some involved in it. But anyway, getting to those calls on the line here. Doing that throughout the hour here. So you're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Ben on the east side.
Hey there. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out, before COVID, was there anybody that actually, when you went out in public or anything, that you had to wear a mask?
Not in this country anyway. I recall some like Southeast Asian countries doing that, actually, frankly, around the SARS time, more specifically, but not really exactly around here.
That was for environmental purposes, though, right?
That too, yeah. Well, the heavy pollution and all the fun stuff that comes with that.
Right. So why is it that we're still talking in, the city council, all the government agencies, everybody, about schools and everything, about wearing a mask now?
That is actually,
we know that masks don't work for the COVID. Okay, unless you're wearing a KN95 or an N95. So why are we still talking about wearing masks?
I mean, frankly, it is a good and reasonable point to bring up here at this point in time. We, of course, had that city council item that ended up being voted down to instruct the city attorney to no longer be pursuing the cases going through whatever court of appeals they are in. Now, keeping track of those is his own full-time job, frankly, and we've spent about $70,000 of city money was the estimate on it so far. So that's a bit of fun when it comes to it. And then compound that with whatever the school districts or even otherwise, organizations are doing on that. Again, I just look at what's going on around town to kind of be my bellwether. Frankly, if a business requires it, they have a sign out front. If I'm deciding to go into that business, I'm going to, take that at the door kind of thing. But at the same time, what we're seeing here in El Paso, what with the vaccination rate and the infection rate, I'm going to leave it up to personal choice is the best I'm going to say at this point, and wonder if we shouldn't be more focused on, that's just one of the couple of votes that happened within city council most recently that caused a lot of consternation is the nice way to put it anyway. Other words that I can't use on radio is another way to put it from some reactions out there. So I think it's a valid question to be asked there, given that we have more supplies. Well, okay, to back it up further to kind of your real question there, why are these still in place, is that in a lot of ways, it's kind of the public health response that can be done, considering that this is, besides the vaccine, that is, of course, and with the fight happening over that, this is kind of the other side of it, plus particularly for school districts, for children, all that fun stuff that comes along with it. But, really, it started since the start of the whole pandemic, hasn't it? That this was the way to do and seem like you're doing something, even if, the phrase that someone used months and months ago that has been living rent-free in my head about the Spider-Man mask that you picked up at Walmart, that is cloth and not doing much. Of course, that has evolved a little bit over time. I got talked to when I took a flight not too long ago for having an event with a mask with vents on it and then wore another mask over that. So, but it's kind of the thing to be done. And otherwise, it doesn't feel like much is being done now, doesn't it? At least when it comes to kind of the public health elected official standpoint, is what it seems like to me. So without having an actual, this is what they're saying about it kind of answer, that's the sense that I get when it comes down to it. And yeah, supplies have gotten somewhat better, but it's still a lot of people still going with the surgical, improperly worn, not actually feeling face masks, all that fun stuff there. So, yeah, the long and short of it is, we'll see what happens in the meantime. So thank you for that point and that question then. Appreciate it. All right, trying to get to a couple more calls here before we hit the next break here. Again, that number to call, taking those calls throughout the hour, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. A lot of commentary going on there. Got time for one more quick one. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Hi, Andrew. It's Barbara on the west side.
Hey, Barbara. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to comment on the reparations, so to speak, that the administration is considering. Where's the consideration for the angel moms, the angel families that lost loved ones because of illegal immigrants that were in our country? They could still be alive. And, they want to make millionaires. And not only do they want to give them enough money to become a millionaire, they can live right next door to me and it's an illegal immigrant. And we're supposed to welcome them with open arms. That's just ridiculous. It's asking too much of the American people. We have a certain sense of dignity and we want respect, and we want respect for our country, and we want respect from our government. And another thing, in addition to that, the reconciliation bill had like $500 million or something set aside for amnesty that they're not even mentioning. And twice the parliamentarian has told them that they can't put amnesty in a reconciliation bill. And the second time around, do you know what these people are saying? That they don't have to listen to the parliamentarian. She's just suggesting things or recommending things. Do they not know the purpose of a parliamentarian? We have such a rogue administration that every day our eyes are opened to how our country is being destroyed. I haven't heard any concern from Mayorkas on the 3 caravans that are headed toward the U.S. That's a scary thought, especially since one of the executive officers said they'll have to beat the women and children because we're ready for war. Those are quotes on national TV. And at the same time that day that they were interviewing him, I saw trenches being dug. Okay, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're clearing the way so they don't ruin the environment and they have a certain way to walk. Well, my eyes were open when that huge piece of equipment moved back, and then men from head to toe, it could be women too, started putting in body bags in those trenches. And then you see it's so sad that huge heavy piece of equipment starts putting the dirt back into the trench and just buries those people that had died. And they said their children were amongst the dead. We are spreading death, destruction, turmoil, unhappiness. And it's shameful what we've come to, what the Biden administration is doing to our country. And not just us, this is globally. People are dying because of his policies. So everybody have a good Friday. I know these are, I'm just stating the facts. I'm not making them up. We have to live with the facts, because if you don't face the facts, there's no way to deal with them.
I mean, absolutely. And talking about this stuff is important. That's part of why we do this here. Yeah, the what I'm seeing about that whole reimbursement thing, it would be particularly for during the last administration when there was the family separation. That is what is reportedly, according to the Washington Post and a few other sources, reportedly being considered by the Biden administration at this point here. But yeah, in the meantime, we've got issues going on continually with border security. I mean, Del Rio may have been a one-off for now, but at the same time, people are paying attention. If they're seeing that, hey, that worked, quote unquote, worked for whatever kind of standpoint you're looking at, it's not unreasonable to expect that someone might attempt a similar thing, which is why, again, I would love to see any plan out of this current administration about, okay, here's what we're going to implement, as opposed to, I mean, there's a lot of priorities that are conflicting right now. I mean, he's out of the country right now doing some G20 stuff after having visited the Vatican and all that fun stuff. But at the same time, these are pressing in my mind, and not even just from the local basis here. So yeah, that's a whole nother show right there, just talking about what the priorities should be here. So thank you for those points in that call here. We are going to need to take that break right now, but coming back from the break, we'll get to more of those calls and comments on the line here. A lot of people tuning in, a lot of people calling in. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. That's what we're doing today, taking those comments and calls throughout the hour. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Talking about lighter notes here and just about how to support yourself and what you need to be doing for the rest of your day. Again, I have tried doing, the energy drinks, the sugary sodas, and sure, they may give me a little bit of that boost and jitteriness that comes with it to get through the end of the day, but it fades and the crash is very, very real. So something that I turn to instead to both give me the support I need, but then not have those other problems is Clever Tea. KLEVRT, TEA is in the stuff that you drink. They have their Oolong Wise blend, and it doesn't necessarily make you smarter. It can make you feel smarter, maybe, by helping boost energy levels, reduce anxiety, and promote better focus, plus strengthens immunity to boot as we're flirting with whatever this fall weather may be, an important factor to consider. You can also find them out in local areas, so kind of, again, on that lighter side of things. You can find them out at the Punk Rock Flea Market today, this evening, also at the Country Club Farmers Market tomorrow, and then on Sunday at the Upper Valley Artisans Market. So find them out in the community where they are as a locally produced product, something to support and something to consider. Also ask them about the $6.90 deal so you can get a free bottle when you buy the initial product. So check out all of that and find them online at clevertea.com to order your own box. That's clevertea.com, KLEVRTEA.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
We're dealing with a collision on the I-10 westbound at Geronimo, blocking that right shoulder. It's causing delays going back to Airway Boulevard. Then a collision at Gateway West and Hawkins Boulevard. That's at the on-ramp. Medical situation on Sumac and Springwood, and another medical situation on Yarborough headed northbound at Alameda. I'm Wendy Swanson, and that's El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. It's amazing because Discover is accepted at 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report limitations apply.
Hi, this is Rick from the Air Conditioning Company. How would you like to save $15,000 or more on your refrigerated air system? The Air Conditioning Company can help you do that. An improperly installed unit can cost you thousands and shorten the life of your equipment. Act now and get the best prices of the year on your AC and furnaces. Let our expert tech put money back in your pocket. Call 842-8615 today or log on to theairconditioningcompanyllc.com. The Air Conditioning Company. You'll love our company. License number 26622E.
By texting 64000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Possible Finance. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. No guarantee of credit score increase. Terms apply. Available at possiblefinance.com/privacy.
I screwed up my credit when I was younger.
I often find myself scraping by right before rent is due.
If you need cash or are looking to rebuild credit, Possible Finance can loan you up to $500 in minutes. Good credit not required. Just text READY to 64,000 to download the Possible Finance app.
Within an hour of applying, there was money on my debit card. Where else are you going to get money at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night?
Repay the loan in installments and change your payment date with no fee.
For someone who's building credit, this is the best. My credit score went up after the first 2 payments.
I had trouble paying, so I moved my payment 2 weeks later without hurting my score. It helped me big time.
Just text READY to 64,000 to download the Possible Finance app and get up to $500 in minutes. Text READY to 64,000 to download Possible Finance. Text READY to 64,000.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. A lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
That's just one adoption story that started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, and a lot of ways to interact with the show, particularly here on this Friday when we're taking those calls and comments throughout the hour. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all those places. Look for most of it under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk on those platforms, and you can find us, tune in, chime in, as we have a lot of people already commenting. Off to a very fast start here. We got Calvin Williams, John Hertz, Leroy, Chuck, and more. Maria Kalman a little bit later, Louis Pinato as well, John Brazelton. Lot of stuff going on here as well. John Brazelton hoping for a change within part of the elector, or specifically the Senate, with that razor-thin, not even majority, but de facto majority for the Democrats in there right now. Definitely has someone, it's not even been working that well, even with that there, so frankly. And then Calvin Williams also chiming in about what's going on with that potential check coming back to it. Yeah. And then actually Tim Collins making a pretty decent point there, that with all the complaining here, Escobar will continue as our rep. That's why the redistricting was something to be paid attention to, frankly, because that's going to set that electoral destiny for the next 10 years. But even in the meantime, given that we're probably on track for about 2% voter turnout in this current election, you're not giving anyone in current positions of power much reason for pause now, are you? So I went and voted today. Not in the Canutillo district, so that's not the one that I was able to vote on, mostly just the constitutional propositions on the Texas side of things on mine. But don't forget, Texas and New Mexico, a lot of important stuff on the ballot. So please go out and vote, or do it on election day. But it's just easier to do it early voting. It's open through this evening here as well. So, epcountyvotes.com on the El Paso side, or the Doña Ana County Clerk's office if you're in our New Mexico audience. So just please go out and, do those things. All right, getting to more of those calls in the line here. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now, we do have Andrew on the west side here. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. A couple of topics. One was the reparation to these illegal immigrants that are coming over and were separated. $450,000 is the proposed settlement.
Right.
Now, there are 900 suits filed on behalf of them. That equates to, if my math is correct, around 500,000. What is it? $500 million there. But anyway,
just shy,
plus
but
your trial attorneys are going to get about 150,000 per case. Now, these individuals knew the risk. They knew that coming across is against the law, and that the risk of separation were possible. Why is it that we should be rewarding illegal behavior and encouraging illegal behavior? Next topic. Okay, I wish these people would quit using the phrase gun safety measures. That's an insult to people's intelligence. It is gun control that they're after, taking away people's firearms. Make no bones about it. And I can tell you, you anti-gun guys, if you want gun control, keep guns out of the hands of buffoons like Alec Baldwin. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, fair enough there. Yeah, when I think of gun safety, I'm thinking about the 4 rules of gun safety: that keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire, assume every gun is loaded, never point the gun at anything you're not willing to destroy, and know what your target is and what's behind it. May have mixed them up there, the different versions of it here, but also, as you point out, some of those not exactly being followed. Whatever you think about the situation, pretty obvious by the failure of the situation. Not all of those being followed in that last situation you mentioned there with Baldwin. But yeah, that's what I think of when it comes to gun safety. If we're talking about then controlling who can or cannot have a firearm there, yeah, that's gun control absolutely here. That rebranding, I guess, had escaped me until you make that a little bit clear to me, coming from our news update at the top of the hour. So that's a fun issue, and one I would be very surprised if it comes up on the ballot, at least on the Texas side of things, anytime soon, either on as an actual item or something that a candidate is putting forth. It potentially could on the New Mexico side of things. New Mexico is such a mixed bag of politics sometimes, but even I kind of like it because I don't like it when politicians feel safe. I don't like it when elected officials think, I don't have to do much to keep the people that elected me happy. I don't really have to strive that much for them. As long as I talk about the right things, I'll probably get reelected. That's kind of my nightmare scenario. So it's been a real fun time paying attention to politics ever, because I want politicians to feel not secure in their positions, not secure in their elected spots, because they need to be doing more almost always. And I think that's at least part of the reason we have those concerns, to put it nicely, that we have with some of those high offices of the land here. But my soapbox. Get to another call here. We do have Joe on the west side. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I just wanted to mention that to your audience that Biden is visiting Rome today. He's visiting with the Pope.
Yep.
And he claims to be a good Catholic, a very good Catholic. And I don't know, people out there know that a lot of the dioceses have refused to give him communion.
Mm.
In fact, they have practically excommunicated him. And they have done this because he is in favor of abortion. This guy, who is a pervert, a known pervert, is killing babies. It's funding the killing of babies. And he promotes this. Now, to me, that's not very saintly. So if he's a good Catholic, he wouldn't be doing it. And the other thing that I wanted to talk to is that, in fact, when he's killing babies, he wants to pay all these people that are abandoning their kids, abusing their children, and leaving them at the border. Now he wants to pay them $500,000. This doesn't make sense, that people that commit crimes, abandon their children, are now looking at getting $500,000 from the taxpayers. What Democrats are doing, people don't realize this. You have to be analytical. Democrats are establishing a precedent or a narrative to pay reparation. In fact, African Americans are supposed to get $1 million each for slavery. No, I'm a Hispanic, I'm Mexican American. I didn't cause slavery. I never had slaves, and my family never had slaves that I know of. But the other thing is that this country, the United States of America, had slaves for about 80 or 90 years. Now, that's not right. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a good thing. It's a bad thing that we had slavery for that period of time. Now, I'm speaking only of the United States of America. So now you have all these people of color from Africa, Haiti, and South America coming here because they have heard that the U.S. is going to pay them $1 million each for slavery. How?
Yeah, that the question that you come up to, or I can pretty sense, is how does that make sense? And short answer is that it doesn't. I mean, yeah, the whole foundation of this country and it in its start up until, of course, the Civil War, having slavery as a feature in some form or another is a problem that probably should be addressed going forward. But at the same time, yeah, I never owned slaves. Not sure if anyone in my distant family ever did, but certainly not a process I participated in. At the same time, I think there are structural things, really, when it comes down to how things were then set up. I mean, whole existence of the Klan, that fun stuff. It's an issue that needs to be addressed. But even then, just talking about the mechanism of it. You ever saw the show that came out, the Watchmen series that was on HBO? I think it was. They actually addressed that in an interesting, specific way focused around the Tulsa race riots that happened not too long after the turn of the century, if I got my timing in mind right, and was focused specifically on that. So that's an interesting, not exactly case study, but a further idea that's been put forth. But I think that so I actually had a chance in previous years to talk with people who are involved in the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And that's kind of the closest concrete current governmental example I can think of that has to do with how this could potentially work. Specifically talked with guys that were involved in the untangling of land ownership, land rights, property, things like that. Not necessarily reservations, but actually like, okay, there were these lands that were given to these peoples, and then they were subdivided, and then in subsequent generations, subdivided and subdivided and that fun stuff. So untangling that was its own hell of a process. Going into this, I can't imagine it would be just, yeah, if you match this skin tone, you're due for that, because, oh man, the fraud that would be possible with that. It would be records based, and even I don't think there's going to be any easy or particularly good way to do it without perfect documentation and information, which of course we know doesn't really exist, even if it is here when they're talking about giving that $450,000. The proposed rule, there's nothing we can really look at concretely yet. It's just a idea floating out in the ether. I'm sure it's written down somewhere, but not publicly available, of giving it to those, not necessarily those that are abandoning their children. There'd be a lot more outrage than there already is if that was the idea, that you drop a kid off at the border and you get $450,000. Yeah, that's a variety of messed up, but particularly those, again, it's a focus. The answer there is it's a focus on the previous administration and what there was going on with that, again, what was called the child separation. So that's the complexities of that. But yeah, it's a whole can of worms in any way, shape, or form with this subject here. So, we got to take that break right now. Coming back from the break, we're going to get to more of those calls and comment on the line. Getting a little bit in depth here more than this week, but I kind of like it here. We're doing that throughout the rest of the hour. So if you got a comment or call on the line, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of ways you can get to us. Back more after this break with Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Can be easy to get caught up in the issues of the day, but what you don't want to lose focus on is your health and what to do if it's being impacted. More specifically, those day disruptors, as I call them, the aches, breaks, sprains, bruises, sniffles, coughs, all that stuff that can make you think, okay, what the heck am I going to do now? If I don't have a doctor currently, or the doctor's office is full, what do I end up doing? What I turn to in those kind of situations and keep top of my mind is Upper Valley Urgent Care Center, particularly when it's those things that, no, you don't have to get in an ambulance right now, but at the same time, I can't really keep going about my day with this, such as when my spouse ended up having her eye getting just junk in it through an accident, and wasn't feeling good about going through the day with that. So we went to Upper Valley Urgent Care, and Doc Carpenter and his team over there took care of her, got that cleaned out, got what we needed to then deal with it going forward to make sure it wouldn't become something that then resulted in the emergency room in the long run. You can find them at 121 East Red Road, right west of I-10 and Red Road there. So it's a pretty easy, accessible way to find it, whatever side of town you may be coming from. Plus, they have got everything you need, fast and friendly 5-star medical treatment all the way up to x-ray capabilities, and offering walk-in basis 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You got your nights, weekends, holidays covered there, particularly with the culmination of spooky season coming up here. An important thing to keep in mind for any of those incidents that may occur. So that's where I go to and what I trust, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. An SUV that was transporting 15 migrants crashed near Van Horn this morning, killing 4 of the occupants. That's according to officials with the Texas Department of Public Safety. They say the crash happened this morning at 5:30, about 24 miles north of Van Horn. Several others were transported to an El Paso hospital with critical injuries. El Paso police continue to investigate a deadly shooting in a McDonald's parking lot in West El Paso. 1 person was killed and 2 are in custody following last night's shooting in the 7900 block of North Mesa. When officers arrived at the McDonald's, they found that 1 man had been shot to death at the scene. Police say they tracked the suspects to the UTEP area where they were arrested. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Our Halloween weekend is finally here, and boy, is it going to turn out to be very nice. A little on the warmer side than usual, so at least we'll get to see all those costumes for those early evening trick-or-treaters. The winds pretty much should behave. They should be to around 15 miles an hour, occasionally gusting to 20. But overall, we're looking good this weekend with bigger changes next week.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast. What's the deal? $1.99 breakfast croissants. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a sausage or bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant for just $1.99. Fresh cracked eggs, oven-baked bacon, grilled sausage, all on a hot, buttery, flaky croissant. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's. Limited time only, price of participation may vary.
The October Monster Used Car Sales Event is on. Right now at Casa Buick GMC. Yeah, it's going on right now. A sale so scary good that you'll scream. One owner trades, lease returns, and we've dug up some unique specimens just for you.
Like this 2013 Mustang, $24,877, or this 2019 Toyota Tundra, $58,777, or wow, this 2020 Yukon Denali for $61,877.
Financing through more than 20 banks and credit unions. Buy here, pay here financing by La Casita.
The October Used Car Monster Sales Event is on right now at Casa Buick GMC, Montana Airway by the airport.
Hey folks, this is Andrew J. Polk. As the days get shorter, you don't want to get caught in the spooky situation of not knowing where to go to get quality medical care and services when you need it. From the routine to minor medical emergencies, my go-to is Dr. Alan Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. From shots and testing to aches, sprains, breaks, and the rest of the unplanned parts of your day, they're at the ready with walk-ins accepted 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 121 East Red Road. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
TheTrustedLab.com carries CBD made in America with the highest quality products. Get your CBD from a Texas company at TheTrustedLab.com. Great alternative to addictive drugs, plus it's lab-tested clean CBD. It's what I use. TheTrustedLab.com.
Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. It's amazing because Discover is accepted at 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report limitations apply. This report is sponsored by Discover.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Whatever you're going about your day and thinking about the information you need to know, one way you can stay on top of it is by tuning into the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, which airs Saturdays at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, going into the information you need to know to navigate our complex medical system and its latest innovations, particularly this week marking the end of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, talking about how those procedures have evolved, what the way they work now, and the way screenings work or should be working for everyone that is involved or potentially subject to that issue of breast cancer. So you can tune in again Saturday at noon. You can also submit your questions for future shows by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's RAO@medicalhackers.com. And then again, be sure to tune in Saturday at noon to the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages that we're featuring on, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, most of those being the Talk El Paso, or including on the Talk El Paso page, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. That's me. That's the way those names seem to be preferred, so we set it up that way. But any way that you want to do it, leave your comments. Also taking those calls throughout the end of the hour, which is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Yeah, a lot of stuff we're talking about here today, including what's going on with public health stuff around here, and also some of the more information coming out, actually, since we got that news report in about that situation that happened in the UTEP area last night, sounding like it was a drug deal gone wrong, according to El Paso police. We're going to end our news partners over at KFOX 14 that it was a 22-year-old man shot dead in the Upper Valley, revealed it to be a drug deal that then ended up with the suspects fleeing to the UTEP area, so causing a lot of disruption, particularly with that. Not much more information, including the victim's name, out just yet, but the two guys that supposedly perpetrated it, again, accused at this point, having been now put on bond, $2 million in one case, and then $1 million, and then no bond, actually, for the other there. So, yeah, not a good situation. But again, taking those calls and getting to those comments as we have a lot of people tuning in, including Alupinato, Michael Perez, John Brazelton, John Hertz, Calvin Williams, Edgar Ortiz, and more. Tim Collins a little bit earlier, Maria Kalman as well. So a lot of stuff we're talking about here today that we need to be talking about. Edgar Ortiz actually come to one of the points we made during the previous segment that local politicians do get too comfortable. Small towns with mayors like Anthony, New Mexico, and Anthony, Texas, have either mayors that ran unopposed, or on the New Mexico side, a mayor that is being challenged by unqualified individuals, in his words, and as a result, the town suffered. Yeah, and my little note as I went to where I voted today did see that one position being considered already elected due to a lack of challenge, which I hate to see. I gotta say there's been a project that I don't know if it's around anymore, but it was when I was going through school anyway. It was around. It's called the Ficus Project. That in places where A, it was allowable, and B, there was no one challenging people in seats, that literally this group would then put a ficus on the ballot, a literal small indoor tree, for the purpose of demonstrating that, hey, no one's running for this, so it might as well be a ficus challenging. And I'd like to see that come back, frankly, because it doesn't happen too often around here, but it happens way too often that it happens at all, ever, because this is important stuff. But sometimes I feel like I'm shouting into the void, but then y'all there are saying that this is important, so we just need to get more people paying attention to this, is what it comes down to. So you're already on the edge of the curve by tuning in here. But get into more of those comments and calls here. We now have, again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Nate on the east side right now. Nate, thanks for joining us. Nate, you with us? Oh, I think we may have lost Nate there. Nate, it sounds Nate, it sounds like your signal has dropped there, so maybe try calling back here in a minute. I do think we have at least one more call on the line right now. Anyway, again, number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. As you know, Trump appears to be running for president again. So with that in mind,
maybe not. We'll see.
His lawyers recently urged a federal judge to block the Treasury Department and the IRS from giving his tax returns to the House Ways and Means Committee. Now, I want to know what he's hiding from the American people. In my view, presidential candidates should be made by law to release their income taxes for the past 10 years. And I recall Trump promising Americans that he'd release his federal income taxes. But he's fought those releases, those returns since then. Promises made, promises broken. On the attack on the Capitol, the organizers of the January 6th protest that led to that violent attack on the U.S. Capitol were allegedly in communications with Representative Lauren Boebert and her office as the lead up to the event. And two organizers told the Rolling Stone magazine recently that they met with close to a dozen Republican members of Congress or their staff while planning the protests against the 2020 presidential election that resulted in that attack on the Capitol. And it was aimed at keeping former President Donald Trump in power. That's what they were trying to do. Among those representatives was that crazy Texan, that Louis Gohmert. And here are a few more promises that Trump has made. He said he would eliminate the debt in 8 years. He added $7.8 trillion in 4 years. He said he'd bring back factory jobs. He sent almost 1,800 more jobs overseas. He said he'd be the greatest job president ever. He had the worst job record since Herbert Hoover, who the Republicans brought us the Great Depression. He said he'd be working too hard for him to go golfing. He spent almost a year and $140 million golfing. He said trade wars were easy to win. He spent $82 billion helping farmers survive. And that tariff was paid by the American consumer, never by the Chinese. That was a giant, giant lie. Or he's an economic illiterate.
I mean, so that's the way tariffs work. And again, if you were confused about that, okay, in the context of there being a potential re-election run, and just to technically point out, there has been no official announcement out of the Trump campaign, but it's also worth pointing out that the Trump campaign has never stopped being a campaign. So it's not unreasonable to consider that there will be something coming forth probably around primary season, or at very least maybe after this current coming election, because we do have another one, by the way. But really when it comes down to it for me is that I do recall that there were a lot of people saying that, okay, particularly the blue no matter who crowd was saying that, okay, and then whoever we get into office, we're going to hold them accountable. So as much as I, again, love this weekly revisiting of the follies of previous administrations, I do think that focusing on the current one and what it's doing and that whole accountability thing is also an important one because, again, yes, maybe running again and therefore still in the public eye set. And frankly, when it comes to the tax returns, I think it's just going to be until they see him myself, going to be probably not as much as was expected. I mean, it was being said by the former president himself that, hey, my value and my net worth goes up and down in my own mind depending on how I feel about it on the day. It's on record saying that. So I'm not going to be surprised if it's an embarrassment issue, frankly, when it comes down to it. But even then, in the meantime, this has been a fight going on for a minute now, but still, the current administration and what's going on and how it's affecting us right now, including this $450,000 per family affected by the child separation that happened in the previous administration, that happening now, just a little bit more front of mind to me, and I would love to have a little bit more focus on that, frankly. All right, we are overdue for a break here right now, so coming back from the break, we're going to get into more of these comments and calls here. So again, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of stuff going on in our area, a lot of stuff to be talked about and dealt with here. So back with that with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, it is October still for a couple more days here on the cusp of Halloween. But at the same time, that also still means that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Those pink ribbons, frankly, I think it should be around year-round, but we focus on it for this particular month. And in support of that, local company Therapeutics and Thermography, Inc., which you can find at 935 Sunland Park Drive inside Biometrics, the big blue sign over there that's just west of I-10 and Sunland Park. They're offering $50 off all breast thermograms through the end of the month here. So you still got time to get that in and get that scheduled. And if you're wondering about it, we've talked about it a decent amount here and had the owner on as well, Teresa Munoz. But it's another tool in the arsenal of prevention and early detection. Specifically, different than other methods, it's imaging on the body that's somewhat less invasive. None of these technically go into the body. They can see into it with imaging, but this one, it's pretty quick and painless. I've seen the setup myself there, and it means that you can have just, again, another way of dealing with this issue, particularly those at risk, but anyone within that age group, or even those just wanting to know more about how to deal with it. It's another tool, so you can give them a call at 915-401-4053. That's 915-401-4053. Or find them online at elpasothermography.com. And again, claim your $50 off through the end of the month. That's elpasothermography.com, THERMOGRAPHY.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
We're dealing with a couple of collisions on the I-10 this afternoon. I-10 westbound at Geronimo, the right shoulder is blocked, and it's causing slow traffic back to Airway Boulevard. Then a collision on the I-10 eastbound at the Patriot Freeway. The left shoulder is blocked there, and it's causing slowing back to Piedras. Watch for a collision at the on-ramp of Gateway West at Hawkins Boulevard. I'm Wendy Swanson, and that's traffic.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast. What's the deal? $1.99 breakfast croissants. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a sausage or bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant for just $1.99. Fresh cracked eggs, oven-baked bacon, grilled sausage, all on a hot, buttery, flaky croissant. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's. Limited time only, price of participation may vary.
Take control of your health and stay on top of the latest medical innovations by tuning in every Saturday at noon to Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandy Brow, board-certified vascular interventionalist with healthcare hacks to help you navigate our complex medical system and insights on treatments for common medical problems weekly on News Radio 690 KTSM. Have a question for the doc? Submit them ahead of the show by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandy Brow, coming this Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hi, this is Rick from the Air Conditioning Company. The cold air is coming, so now's the time to get your furnace working right. If your unit's more than 20 years old, it's inefficient and doesn't have the new safety devices. The new furnaces are more efficient and pay for themselves. Act now and get the best prices of the year and save up to 25%. Our expert techs can put money back in your pocket. Call 842-8615 today or log on to airconditioningcompanyllc.com. The Air Conditioning Company. You'll love our company. License number 26622E.
On the true crime podcast, Crossing the Line, host M. William Phelps investigates the murder cases that never got the big headlines.
Someone treats crime victims and their families with the slightest bit of disrespect, I am calling them out. Someone commits murder, I am going at them full throttle.
Listen to Crossing the Line with M. William Phelps on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo.
Are you covered by Medicare and Medicaid? Well, El Paso Health Plus is the plan for you. As a local Medicare Advantage plan, we can offer our members more. Call us at 833-742-3125 or ephmedicare.com. El Paso Health Plus.
During Lowe's Provember event, new members of their Pro Loyalty program get a welcome kit via mail, and every member gets a chance to win amazing prizes. Provember, now through November 24th. Lowe's, the new home for pros.
Monterey Asset Management, superior multifamily property management services citywide.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
We've been talking about those fall temperatures kind of swirling around here. Pretty nice in my household this morning, but I got to imagine what it's going to feel like when it gets, well, that much colder, or even what's going to happen next summer. So what I'm thinking about when I do that is the air conditioning company, because right now you can lock in some of the best prices of the year and save as much as 25% out of pocket on your bills when it comes to this, but particularly for your furnace as we're getting into those colder nights. I expect that freeze might be around the corner here. Got to pay attention to that forecast. And if your furnace isn't in good working order or it's too old, you're missing out in a couple of ways. One, on the efficiency benefits that can save you money as we're talking about those fuel costs, but at the same time, safety measures and safety systems within it just weren't present in older generations of models. So you can give them a call at 915-842-8615, 915-842-8615 to find out what you can do to schedule yourself and get those deals. And also log on to the Air Conditioning Company LLC.com. That's Air Conditioning Company LLC.com.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff we're talking about here today, and getting towards the end of the show, end of the week here. Still squeezing a couple more if we can here. Also do have those pound 250 calls. If you want to leave a message that way to do it, dial pound 250 on your smart device, specifically your cell phones. Landlines don't work because it is a digital call. So pound 250 on your cell phone, all four of those symbols. And then when prompted, say the keyword Talk El Paso. You can leave us a message. One of those coming up right now. But at the same time, we'll be taking those calls throughout the end. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Some expectation of chance coming up for World Series appearances by certain major elected officials or previous ones coming up here. See if that works out. One of the weird discussions I've been seeing going on is about hate speech being attached to that as opposed to just buffoonery and response to such. It's weird, and a weird way life we live in these days here. But also have to mention one of our show sponsors, Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Monterey Asset Management. If you're tired of the ups and downs in the stock market, consider investing in real estate. Monterey manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See the new website, m1ep.com. That's m1ep.com to learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate. You can call certified property manager Ray Baca also at 915-592-4549. That's 915-592-4549. Thank you to our sponsors. Please support them as they support us in our mission to bring back live local talk radio to the borderland, because having these discussions is important, even if we've just got elections on the ballot, which still got a minute here to go out today to do. This is the final day of early voting, particularly for those constitutional amendments for Texas, as well as the bond issues that we talked about. If you want to see that full interview that we had with the Canutillo Independent School District on why they are putting this bond forth now and in such a fashion, and how they're talking about it, saying that it will not effectively increase taxes, even though it does required by law to say that on the ballot. You can go and check out the video from yesterday, main one on the page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, but a lot of other ways you can look at it as well. That's kind of what this comes down to, is really when it comes down to going to the ballot box. I mean, you may have heard the phrase that all politics is local politics, but at the same time, if we're not showing up locally and only focusing on the national, well, that was one of the more interesting things that particularly came out of when I went to CPAC over the summer there, because we had some national organizations, national kind of get out the vote efforts, and the way they were talking about it is that they don't even want to know necessarily how you feel about the top of the ballot issues when they're coming into local communities and dealing with local parties, local voters, et cetera, Because if all you're doing is spouting off about the national issues and kind of parroting off that, you are missing then the local engagement that then really drives people out to the polls. Because if you're not worried about, okay, how are things actually working in the community? I mean, the top level stuff, yeah, it absolutely ends up coming down to the local level, particularly decisions being made out of, the three branches of our federal government. But still, some of the more impacting things and stuff can really affect how you live your life come from the local level. So that's why we focus on that and we talk about that. And I want to see more of that happening, frankly, because I think that's part of the disconnect that we've lost here in our community here. So we do have, we'll close out the show with one of those pound 250 calls here. Again, leave your own pound 250 keyword Talk El Paso.
This is the fair, Frankie. I got to share with you a funny stance that I came across today. Well, a bunch of these nut job conservative insurrectionists, seditionists are complaining about being in jail. Oh my God, they were trying to overthrow the country and they're in jail and they're complaining about this, that, and whatever. I'll tell you what, if I was in charge, they wouldn't even be in an American jail. They would be in a Russian gulag or they'd be in a North Korean labor camp. My God, what a bunch of bozos. Then you got this other nut job that is appealing, coming up with a mea culpa thing. Oh, I'm such an idiot for being the insurrectionist and stuff like that. Oh yeah, no, you're not. Because if you were, you would have said you were an idiot the first time before you even became an insurrectionist. You bozo, bubblehead nut jobs.
Again, the comparisons go a little bit far when we're talking about extreme methods and making those direct comparisons to what were done in other fascist or totalitarian communist countries. Don't end up actually making a very good point about how things should be worked on going forward now, do they? We'll have to leave it there for this week. We are out of time for this week, so we'll do it again starting next week, Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Thank you for tuning in, calling, and commenting, however you may have been doing so. We'll do it again next week, so appreciate it. Go out and vote if you haven't, also on Tuesday, and we'll see you next week. Stay safe, twice for motorcycles. Have a great weekend. And now for your Medicare moment with Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. What sets Advocate Health Advisors apart when it comes to working with veterans?
Well, Advocate Health Advisors has spent hundreds of hours learning about military benefits like VA, Champ VA, and TRICARE for Life. We do this to properly assist the veterans in choosing the correct fit in their Medicare plan and how it complements the military benefits that they already have. So these Medicare plan options that they have only enhance the benefits that they've already earned through the military.
And so to find out more information, you can call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A couple of collisions on the I-10 this evening. One's I-10 westbound at Geronimo. It's off to your right, but causing delays going back to Airway. Then we've got a collision on the I-10 eastbound at the US 54. The left shoulder is blocked there. We've got a collision at the on-ramp of Gateway West and Hawkins, and a medical emergency on Sean Haggerty eastbound at Gateway North.
Hey folks, this is Andrew J. Polk. As the days get shorter, you don't want to get caught in the spooky situation of not knowing where to go to get quality medical care and services when you need it. From the routine to minor medical emergencies, my go-to is Dr. Alan Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. From shots and testing to aches, sprains, breaks, and the rest of the unplanned parts of your day, they're at the ready with walk-ins accepted 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 121 East Red Road. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall,
News
Upper
on
Valley
the hour
Urgent Care
and a
Center.
half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio. I'm Brian Shook. The FDA is authorized.